of 2 years ago. A draft declaration was presented by law and stuff, and we have discussed it. And the outcome was that this was a preliminary draft, like your points yesterday, subjected to further discussion. We will certainly take this draft back. We will comment on it while we are here, by lunchtime. But that again is not enough. I think many people here in the other group have wanted more time. And I think there's no harm, because this is going to be a continuing debate. Now, having said this, let me also now look at some of the positive issues that have emerged. And one issue that has emerged to connect what the religious leaders, their philosophy, their commitment to bringing about changes in the hearts and minds of people, so that this will impact in the long term in behavior of all mankind. That vision has to be connected with what governments, intellectuals, the people are doing to make a sustainable transition. That we make very clear, it's not adding a little bit about climate change or a little bit about income or saying whether globalization is good or not good and so on. These are all partial. We have to keep to the original holistic methodology and the intellectual content of what the spiritual leaders are saying has to be taken by the politicians, governments, international and national, by the academic community, by the new social movements and activists, and ultimately by the people. And for this transition, we need a new theory and practice. We cannot go on repeating this fragmented, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. We can't play with numbers. The numbers of people who are now affected is too large to be complacent. What we have tried to suggest, taking your concept of training, I'm sure you didn't mean training in the narrow sense. Training means reorientation of the left side and the right side of the mind, the body, taking that large body of knowledge, experiential learning and wisdom that has come through the years, sorting it out, and then trying to see at different levels how to bring about this change in different time horizons. And in doing this, our institutions have to be changed, and those who now are powerless to bring out change and who are suffering from this, who are the largest community, have got to be empowered. Let us not feel afraid of using words like empowerment. In that empowerment, if temporarily they are not non-violent, let us not call them terrorists. In this declaration, I found the word terrorist. That should be dropped. This is now even being said by Lord Brown, by Hillary Clinton, by why are we using it in our declaration? Having said this, let me conclude by again humbly thanking you, not only for letting me participate, and people like Ashok Bhashna who have the courage to be able to even discuss this subject which in some circles is an unmentionable. But let us try to get the essence of what we are trying to do, and that is the transition. This is not to replace what you are doing. We are trying to find the transition. The theory, practice, the institutions, and the social forces. And for that, there are now fundamentals clear. There is a material basis from which we can draw experience basis, and ultimately there are our cultural values. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vignalaji. Indeed, we are overwhelmed by your words, and we do cherish every moment spent with you over here. Further, I would like to invite Professor Moshero from Canada to express her views.
I want to express my gratitude on behalf of my colleagues from Canada and from the United States for having been given the opportunity to be here today. I think you have led us into a debate that is of profound significance, both internationally as well as nationally in each of our countries. It asks us to question some of the fundamental notions of the way we live at the present time. We have entered into a very serious debate in the last 3 days on issues of what are profound significance. We see evidence of violence at a very personal level. The violence of the man against the woman in the home. The violence of the rich against the poor in the streets. And the violence of the administrator, the authorities against the individual citizens. We see this not just in your country, but in every country that I visit. We see evidence of cultural violence. Violence that's of one religious group against another, or one cultural group against another. And we see evidence of national violence. Violence, the kind of violence we see in Afghanistan and Iraq now, and in Palestine and in Israel. We have both a personal commitment, I think, to change. I think all of us here understand that we need to personally change to be able to make a difference. We need to change education. We need to do those things that make each of us feel committed towards a genuine change. But we also need to understand the change at a systemic level, which is absolutely essential to create a violence of non-culture, an economics of non-violence, which brings into account those systems which are leading us towards this type of violence. So we need to think about the ways in which our international monetary systems have created an economics that has normalized violence, that has made us think that at this stage it's all right to have very rich and very poor, to have those disparities, those inequalities, and those indignities which lead us to live in a world of violence, a world that none of us want to live in, and all of us wish to change. I think we need to think particularly, coming from this meeting, I think we need to think about entitlement. I think people who have nothing in the world and people who are the subjects of violence have an entitlement to live with dignity and to live without violence. I want to thank you for providing the space and the place and the ideas and the richness within which we could have this discussion. It's of a great significance for us to be able to take a few days to reflect and then to go back and continue our own work in addressing these issues at whichever level we begin. Thank you so very much, sir, for the opportunity.